Yeah. I would like to call the regular call meeting of Fairfield County Council to order Monday, March the 13th, 6 p.m., Winsboro, South Carolina. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move to amend the agenda for item 10B to be carried over to the next meeting because Vice Chairman Gilman is not present and is representing us at another meeting.
I'm sorry.
I'm not.
Hers is not lit up. Neil, yours lit up?
We don't got no power. How come yours is lit up?
You just want to switch for a moment. I'll figure out what's going on.
No, more lit up.
No number lit up. What's going on? Okay, 1 second. I think I know what's going on.
Is yours working? Is yours working? Yeah, we're going to pass this around. Is it working now?
Yep, it's coming up.
Oh, okay.
Checked the batteries earlier. Apparently they decided to die on me, so we'll fix that here in just 1 second.
Does that mean we're ready? Once it stops flashing.
We do.
Is it okay now?
Y'all good?
Everybody good to go? Mr. Chairman, I move to amend the agenda for item 10B to be carried over to the next meeting because Vice Chairman Gilbert is not present and is representing us at another meeting.
Second.
All right, it's been amended. Motion has been moved and properly second. Any discussion? All in favor of amending the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The amended motion passes 6-0. Now back to the regular motion of approving the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Approving the agenda passes 6-0. I do want to put on the record that Chairman Gilbert is in Blythewood representing the county at the meeting at Doco Manor with Scout from the new industry that's coming to Blythewood. Next, we are down to the invocation. Senior Pastor Steve Elkins, First United Methodist Church.
Council members, it is my honor to be here to ask a blessing over this session. Let us pray. God of truth, enlighten these council members now as they meet together so that each has a clear understanding of the issues they need to discuss. Give them clarity on their purpose for this meeting and the objectives they should accomplish in this time together. May these objectives keep them on track, and may these goals connect them together with a common purpose. May these objectives drive each of them to actively participate rather than just passively listen. May this meeting be lively and productive, and may the desired outcome in each area of government be achieved. We ask all of this in the precious name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Elkins. Next, we are down to the approval of minutes for the regular meeting, February the 27th, 2023.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as circulated.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect 6-0 approval of minutes for the regular meeting, February the 27th, 2023. No public presentations. Next, we are down to first public comment session.
Thank you, Mr.
That's on. Good evening. I'm always concerned about when I see the agenda that we don't have any new business. What does that mean to the public? Does that mean we're not doing anything new? Tonight I see there's no old business, no new business. I'd love to talk about it, but I don't understand it. So maybe at the end of the meeting, when you have your time, someone can tell us why we don't have new business, why there is no new business to discuss with the community, and tell us what your plans are for new business. You just mentioned that Mr. Gilbert is at a meeting. I understand they're building a new huge plant. They're going to have lots of employees at this new business Scout. But if it's new business, why aren't we aware of it in the sense of what it's doing for us in Fairfield County and Winsboro and the outskirts? If that's new business, then why isn't it listed as new business? I'm always curious that we don't have new business here. So that's it. I don't take up much time. We got a lot to cover tonight, and I'm just getting warmed up.
Randy Bright, Ridgeway, District 1. Physical management is an integral part, and good physical management is an imperative to get proper end results for any organization. And I have a few questions for the auditors, and I hope that they will address them. The first question is, 2 years in a row, we haven't got the audit done on time. The state's had to fine us. We've got totally embarrassed as a county. They gave some suggestions last time. Either we didn't follow them or the suggestions weren't strong enough. I would ask them, please give us suggestions. Maybe it's a matter of software. Do we need to invest in some software so that we can get the reports done on time? Maybe it's a procedure, processes. But 2 times in a row, 3 times you strike out, might as well shut down. The process, and then that just delays the budget process, and that delays everything else. And we hurry the budget process because we don't have the audit done on time. And then it doesn't come out right. The other aspect I would ask, and the same thing, we've been asking, and it was asked again the last meeting, for periodic reports, monthly, quarterly, of how we're doing on a financial basis. It's the GPS to manage properly, to budget and manage the county. And every time we wind up without having these quarterly budgets, a lot of budgets from the departments are over, a lot are short, we have a lot of misses in things we could have bought, should have bought, and we have a lot of misses in things that we didn't buy because we never know where we stand financially. Hopefully all of you have a checking book and know where you stand, but you don't go out and buy $41 million worth of product without knowing where you stand financially. But we never seem to know where we stand financially. Last year we saw, it was reported, oh, we're way under budget. Then, oh, we don't have enough budget. Oh, now we found money. It's because we don't get the reports. We need a process. If it takes software, if it takes people, it takes Whatever it takes, I would like the auditors to give us a suggestion so we can actually manage our money and know where we're going and know where we're headed. It's a key to our performance as a county. The citizens deserve it. Please, let us know where we're going. Tell us how to get there and what processes we need. Please, auditors. Thank you.
No one else signed up to speak, Mr. Chair.
Next, we are down to 7A, public hearings.
An ordinance of Fairfield County Council developing a multi-county park with Richland County, authorizing the execution and delivery of an agreement governing the multi-county park, authorizing the inclusion of certain property located in Richland County in the multi-county park, and other related matters.
We open this public hearing at 6:10 p.m. Anybody signed to speak?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Randy Bright.
Randy Bright, Ridgeway, District 1. The real importance of this hearing is not the no-brainer to vote for it or not vote for it. The real importance is to ask the question, why not Fairfield? Why did Fairfield not get Scout? Why does Fairfield say we have all kinds of people banging on the door looking at Fairfield to relocate for their business? Yet in 2 years, they've rejected us. Why? We need to find out. We either grow or we die. And if we continue on this path, we're just going to shrivel up. And it's good that Clarence is down there with a meeting. But we continually get the lookers, but we don't get the buyers. And it's because they look under the hood. What do they find under the hood? They find a county that can't get their audits done on time. They find a county that places priority on monuments before fire trucks. In other words, since the last budget sessions, we found we're 4 fire engines short. But we've poured millions of dollars into monuments. The Ridgeways, concrete floor, gym, the monument here, and we've committed a monument in Jenkinsville. Yet, since 2018, we have not bought any fire trucks. We've poured millions into this between the commitment and what we've already spent into monuments, but not safety for the citizens, not safety for our volunteer fires, not safety for our homes, not safety for anyone in Fairfield County. 4 fire trucks short, but we got plenty of monuments. Fire trucks cost $450,000 to $500,000. Do the math, how many millions have we committed to monuments? Which would you rather have? Your home burned down or a monument? Your family get caught in a fire or a monument? Investors look at things like this. They look at priorities. Is the county making sound decisions, or are they willy-nilly focused on what they want, not what the citizens need? And that is imperative. And to make a good presentation, that people want to partner with a county that is run right, that is making sound decisions, and that spends our money wisely, has our priorities right. We cannot move forward until we don't even have a plan, a vision. Counties look at us and say, what's their plan? What's their vision? We don't even have a plan for the much needed sewer plant, although it's been nearly 2 years since we signed the settlement. Let's plan, move ahead.
No one else signed up to speak, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Bright. Next, we are down to 8A. Oh, I'm sorry. Close the public hearing at 6:14 p.m. Next, we are down to item 8A, third and final reading, ordinance number 809.
An ordinance of Fairfield County developing a multi-county park with Richland County, authorizing the execution and delivery of an agreement governing the multi-county park, authorizing the inclusion of certain property located in Richland County in the multi-county park, and other related matters.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Let the record reflect 6-0 on 8A, third and final reading of ordinance number 809. Now we are down to item 9, board and commission minutes. No action, no vote. On library board, November the 9th, 2021, July the 25th, 2022, December the 29th, 2022. This is for information only. Next, we are down to 10A, board and commission appointments. Planning Commission, William Gray, District 1.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Let the record reflect 6-0 in appointing Mr. William Gray, District 1, to Planning Commission. Is Mr. Gray here tonight? All right. 10B was moved to the next meeting. 11, old business, none. 12, new business, none. 13 is the county administrator's report.
Good evening, council. Here to present us with the Palmetto Pride Grant Award that's awarded to our Public Works Department is Miss Sarah Lyles from Palmetto Pride, Keep South Carolina Beautiful. Accepting the award will be our Public Works Director, Jonathan Burrows, who will also give us an overview of how the funds are being used in the litter pickup.
Good evening, members of council. The way we designed this year is everything's in-house. We were lucky enough to have some guys on staff that want to work on the weekends. So we just finished our 4th Saturday of litter pickup. Like I said, guys that are in-house, 3 to 4 guys from the Public Works Department. In those 4 Saturdays, we picked up 136 bags of trash so far. Numerous tires, wheelchairs, TVs, you name it. We're getting those pretty much on about all right away. We're moving throughout different areas. We're hitting the hot spots first. Like, I don't know if you've ever been down Golf Course Road, the S-curve down by crossing the train museum. We picked up 49 bags right there, just in a half mile, 2 Saturdays ago. So this gives our guys in-house some chance to make some extra money. Once we get it kind of ironed out, we should be another week or 2, and we're going to bring on some trustees to be a little more productive with that as well each Saturday. And we have enough to run pretty much every Saturday the rest of the year, depending on the weather. So, any questions?
Any council members?
Just want to say that that's really a great idea. Thank you so much for working with Carolina Pride, and we're really happy that you've gotten this grant.
And we've had a couple of people do community cleanup events. I know from Lake Watery State Park, they're having one on Earth Day. They came and picked up their supplies last week. We've had Eric Cathcart. They've done Old Chester Road up around to the Fairfield Co-op. So they do a couple each year, and the Sheriff's Department's adopted from the fork on 321 North, bypass and business to the stoplight, and then down to Wilson Chevrolet. So they do that. They just finished this past Saturday, so they do that a couple of times a year as well.
Mr. Burrows, did you say that the trustees are going to start picking up?
Once we make sure we got everything ironed out as far as how our guys are getting here and bringing the trash back in a timely manner on Saturdays, then yes, we're going to start rolling a couple on with those guys. So that will give us 4 to 5, maybe 6 out per Saturday.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank you too. This is great. Our county needs to be cleaned up. We need to try to keep it clean, and so people be drawn to this county. It needs to stay beautiful. get beautiful and stay beautiful. Thank you.
Absolutely. And if you have any, like we ride them pretty much every day, so we see the areas that need to be hit the most. So if y'all have anything, or constituents may have some information you want to forward it to admin, and then we'll get it and go from there and put it and prioritize it and put it on the schedule.
Mr. Burrs, I appreciate what you and your department do. If any community want to participate, can they just notify you to get the trash bags? Do you have like the reflective vest and like of a certain community?
The easiest way is to go through Palmetto Pride, and I can send you a link for that to request supplies. But I have done it before, like for Lake Watery, I just went in and filled out the supplies list myself, and then I will pick them up for them. They just have to make sure they turn in the bags, the items they picked up on that, because I have to submit a monthly report to Palmetto Pride as to what we pick up. But if it's a larger scale, they can go through code enforcement and actually get there's several forms you have to fill out and get signatures from people in the area to have an actual roll-off bin put in a central location. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would like to actually say something, if possible, very quickly.
Go ahead.
I'm Sarah Lyles with Palmetto Pride, and I just wanted to say that Mr. Burrows this is probably one of the strongest programs with this grant that we've had in the past 2 years. Last year there were maybe 20 recipients, and this one was the strongest, and we've used it as a model. So we just want to thank you for supporting it. He's done a great job. We have been able to send volunteers to Mr. Burrows. He's been very helpful when we've done other cleanups. So we'll be able to get him supplies for volunteers, but I know that that's a extra step in the process that I don't know that we want to put on him at this point. But in order to prevent litter, we can pick it up all day long, but if we can encourage law enforcement efforts to work with Palmetto Pride to get cameras in place so we can catch illegal dumpers, that will help to prevent litter, so we're not just constantly cleaning it up. But I do just want to make sure you know how great Mr. Burrows and his team have been working with this grant. So thank you.
You want to say something? I think Council Lady Green wants to speak.
Yeah, again, I just wanted to mention that we already have a cleanup schedule. Lake Watery Presbyterian Church has their schedule for the 25th of March, and then April 1st, there's one with Masonic people out of the Pea Ridge community. So thank you so much for your support.
And also council, building maintenance is also starting a litter crew. So again, just like Jonathan said, if you have any suggestions on particular roads, please let us know.
Can I ask a question? What is the fine if you get caught littering?
I'm not sure what the fine is. I'm not sure.
It needs to be.
Yeah, that's the state, not us.
So from the state law ranges from $25 up to $1,000. So if you get caught with a cigarette butt or a bottle, one small item, the average fine for that would be around $25 to $100, but with court assessments that can go up to over $200. Illegal dumping is where we get higher fines. I don't know your local code ordinances, and oftentimes codes will have different fine structures, so you can, your enforcement officers would be able to write on either one, but the state law is in effect for every county.
Thank you.
Anything? I didn't mean to walk away too quickly a minute ago.
Okay, item B, the Transportation Association of South Carolina holds an annual conference and rodeo each year. It's a nonprofit organization that promotes public transportation in South Carolina. The 2023 Transportation Conference and Rodeo was held this month. Fairfield County was represented by our own transit department and was awarded the following by SC Department of Transportation. Ms. Diana White, could you come up, please? Okay, first place in the van division awarded to Mr. Colin Feaster. He will attend the National Community Transportation Rodeo in Oklahoma in May to be paid with grant funds. Okay. 2023 Operator of the Year for Demand Response awarded to Fairfield County Transit for outstanding transit services to the general public, awarded to Joel Glenn Rice.
Was in attendance with us at the rodeo, so I actually asked him to come up, and he had other plans, so I had to ask God to forgive me to get him out here this afternoon. Mr. Joe, this is for you.
Take a picture. Okay, and our Transit Employee of the Year Award, awarded to our very own Miss Diana White for her outstanding service to the county as the Fairfield County Transit Director.
Council and admin, we'd like to thank everybody in allowing us to serve the citizen here at Fairfield County Transit. Again, thank everyone. Go ahead, Ms. Green.
Again, Ms. White, just thank you so much. I think that the public isn't always aware of all of the things that are provided by our transportation department. And I think it's really something to kind of tell them a little bit more about the transit system. If you don't mind, just mention a little bit about the transit system and what has changed, because we're taking a look now at people being able to request rides and have rides that are similar to Uber and Lyft. So if you don't mind, just, give them a little overview of that. I think it's important.
Sure. We have grown. When I came to Fairfield County, we were serving around 9 to 10 public transit. At this moment, we are serving from 65 to 70% public transit. We do not only do medical, we do medical, we do medical with motive care, we do jobs, we do grocery stops, we do local, we do Killiam, I mean, we're very out there, and we would say thanks. Because if you really look at it and just listen to the calls that we receive of the citizens that doesn't have transportation here in Fairfield, and what we provide, and sometimes we get to a limit where we can't provide, it'd be amazing to know that people really relies on public transportation. And my motion is my passion, and I just can't tell them no. I just can't. We work out the way as possible means to make sure that the citizen here in Fairfield County receive the transportation that is needed to jobs, grocery stores, medical need, any local resource building. We're there for them. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White, and again to the director and transit employees, you represented us well, and congratulations again. Item C, Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. I'd like to introduce Mr. John Hendricks and Mr. Eric Sosa, both with GMK Associates Incorporated. GMK was hired by Fairfield County in 2020 to provide services for the planning, study, and assessment of the existing conditions and the renovation of the county's historic courthouse. The courthouse renovation project was broken down into 3 phases. Phase 1, which included interior updates to bring the bathrooms up to basically ADA accessibility. That cost about $592,400. That phase is complete. Phase 2 is what's currently under construction. That's budgeted about $2.4 million. It includes the construction of an addition to the existing building, and that's what you currently see happening right now. Phase 3 will be renovations to the interior of the existing building. The estimated cost for Phase 3 is about $2.7 million, with $1.5 million already allocated from the county's second allotment from ARPA. For those who are here, if you may remember, some of that ARPA funds went towards the HVA system and electrical upgrades in Phase 3. Phase 3 renovations will begin once Phase 2 is complete. So far, we've built out about $1.2 million of the Phase 2 of the project. But I have Mr. Hendrick and Mrs. Sosa here who will go over where we are with the Phase 2 updates.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, council members and county residents for allowing us this opportunity to present our update on the construction. Next slide, please. Thank you. This is a quick overview of what we'll be discussing today. I don't have too many slides, and we put a bunch of photographs in there and pictures to kind of tell the story. But we'll go over quickly the scope of work, some construction activities, and some critical things in their schedule. Next slide, please. This is our architect's rendition of what the front of the building will look like. And so the new portion, if you haven't been by there, it is the portion on the left side of that frame there. Next slide, please. And this would show the reverse angle, so the back side of the new building. Next slide, please. And then just to cover a little bit of what's going on in the building. This is depicting the lower level or the basement level. A lot of the inner workings of the building, infrastructure, electrical, mechanical systems. There is a little storage down there. Next slide, please. On the main level, there is a reception area, public defender's offices, and entry into the actual existing building. Next slide, please. And then on the upper level, there's some additional office spaces and conference spaces. Next slide. Okay, and so as Nithya had previously illustrated, that we have multiple phases here. I'll point out the items that are underway under Phase 2, and this is approximately a 5,000 square foot addition to the courthouse. It does add American Disabilities Act compliant access to the facility, and that's throughout all levels via an elevator. Additional storage spaces and conferences, as I said, as well as office spaces. And then in phase 3, we have been planning for that in the conduct of our construction during phase 2, just allowing, taking into account where future utility infrastructure tie-ins will be, just to make it seamless if we, when we are to move to phase 3. Next slide, please. And to go over some of the completed activities, the construction project initially had a little bit of a slow roll in the beginning, but we had to overcome some obstacles, including some foundations, stability issues, removal of some obstructions that were preventing the placement of the foundation. We did place the new foundation, structural steel, and utility rough-ins. Those are all complete, as well as the exterior framing, insulation, and some sheathing, which is depicted in the photo on the right-hand side. You see that is as of today. Next slide, please. Ongoing activities, we have interior framing and electrical, a lot of mechanical systems, HVAC and plumbing that are yet to be done, as well as some work outside, site work, including concrete steps and a ramp, and then seal up the entire facility on the roof. Next slide, please. And these are photographs of inside the building, showing some of the infrastructure, electrical work on the left and plumbing on the right. Next slide. And then this is just a shot capturing the elevator well and build out of that, or construction of the elevator shaft. Next slide, please. And then looking ahead, over the next month, the work activities will include the roofing, waterproofing, and the stucco finish on the outside of the building, as well as windows and some glazing. Some critical key activities we're monitoring as we go forward. We got to dry in the building before we can hang the sheetrock, obviously, as well as installing our elevator, and then bringing permanent power and our HVAC mechanical systems in before we do the interior finishes, carpet and tile. But our schedule is currently on track for a late summer of this year substantial completion. And I believe that's my last slide. Are there any questions for us, please?
Any council members? And that's a completion of the whole courthouse, right?
That is for phase 2.
Phase 2, okay.
Yes, just phase 2. Okay. Thank you very much for the time.
Next is a joint water and sewer system update. There have been a lot of questions and comments about regarding the status of the wastewater treatment plant, so I wanted to give a little bit of background. I hadn't been on the commission very long, mid-January, so I'm just gonna kind of go through some things that I found, including some things that maybe people who don't know what the wastewater treatment plant is, what the commission is about, et cetera. So March 9th, the Fairfield Joint Water and Sewer System was formed and incorporated. At the time, it only included the county and the town of Winsboro. So August 5th, 2022, the town of Ridgeway joined as a member. The sole purpose of the commission: plan, finance, develop, construct, acquire, improve, et cetera, in order to provide services within the service area of the joint system. The members currently are from the town of Winsboro: John McMeekin, Mayor; Jason Taylor, Town Manager; Fairfield, myself, and the Chairman. Town of Ridgeway members: Robert Arnott, Utilities Department, and Don Prelo, Mayor Pro Tem. The citizen rep is Kyle Krager. Meetings are held at the Midlands Tech campus in Fairfield once a month at 6 p.m. The next meeting, regularly scheduled meeting, is March 28th. So basically what has been done since 2019. Resolutions have been passed by the commission. And please note, any of these resolutions can be obtained through FOIA process. So 2019, adopting procurement policy and FOIA policy. 2020, supporting certain, these are resolutions, supporting certain amendments to the 208 water quality plan, adopting a public hearing and presentation policy, approving an engineering scope to provide professional services related to the amendment of the 208 plan. Basically, looking at the contract, it's incorporating the Thomas and Hutton PER as it relates to the Cedar Creek location. And also a resolution for engaging an attorney, and also a cost-sharing agreement between the joint water system, the county, and the town. 2021, approving an application to the COG for certain amendments to the 208 plan, and approving additional engineering scope of work to include proposed locations and routes for a plan. And this was in regards to the Broad River location. In 2022, they amended and restated some bylaws. So where are we now, and what needs to be done to move forward? First, the draft, we need to review the draft of the participation agreement. So what's the missing piece out of this particular agreement? Whether the plan is going to be a wholesale service, a retail service, or hybrid, which is a combination of the two. And at the next council meeting, I would like to have someone come to talk about the differences, the pros and the cons, because I really don't know. So that needs to be resolved and included in the participation agreement so we can make it final. Completing the PER, which is the professional engineering report. This report determines the best location of the plant and the cost. So the participation agreement and the PER need to be completed, and the information that contained in those documents needs to be included in the amendment to the 208 water quality management plan that's submitted to the COG. In order to allow for construction of a wastewater treatment plant, the 208 has to be amended to include the joint water system. So I'm not going to pretend to know the inner workings of the 208 plan and all that it entails. That's why we have engineers. So, but what I can say at this point is that the county, the town of Winsboro, the town of Ridgeway are working very well together and have a common goal of getting this project complete and looking forward to growth in this county. Okay.
In the plans, do you have any plans to do a rate study? Do you know if they're going to do a rate study at all?
I'm not sure yet. I'm really just getting on council, on the commission. I still have a lot of other questions, and also I need to obtain all the other documents and reports, et cetera, that has already been received by the commission or by the county. So I'm pretty sure a lot of you have a lot more history than what I do. So I would appreciate anything that you can tell me to help catch me up on anything that's been going on with the commission and the issues and concerns that council has. Because it's my understanding that the county did have some concerns in regards to hybrid or wholesale or retail service. So, you know, we need to clarify, resolve, so we can move forward.
I think one of the key things that we want to make sure that the taxpayers of the county are protected in terms of making sure that once the wastewater treatment plant is completed, that we have enough revenue to operate and maintain the system.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Johnson, is there a 2021 application status? With the
with the 208 plan?
Yes, ma'am. I know we've been working on it a while, so.
It's not a status. We need to resolve the participation agreement and the PER in order to put some of that information in the 208 plan so it can go to the COG. So those are the major things that we just need to resolve so we can move forward. Okay, any other questions? Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. Was there a study done by the engineers to, give us a cost estimate for?
I think the county has received a cost estimate. I don't think the commission received an estimate. I think it was one in the file back in 2021, 22, that gave one estimate. But of course, everything, any estimate is going to have to be updated and revised.
Could we get a copy of that?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, next is the audit update. Council had been saying that we were supposed to have an audit report today to be presented to you, but unfortunately that did not happen. So I have Mr. Grant Davis, a partner at Malden and Jenkins, to provide us with an audit update today.
Well, excuse me, members of council, thank you for having me here to visit with you about the audit process. And the kind of way I envisioned this, at least, was that I'd kind of give you a timeline of how things started and where we are now, and then try to answer any questions that you may have after that. But in an effort to do that, we began our discussions with the county finance staff in May of last year. Like Ms. Johnson said, I'm out of Columbia and a partner with Malden Jenkins. Two other partners from one of our offices also came, so three of us met in May to lay out a plan for audit, what we call audit field work, which is the substantial effort in the audit, the timing of that relative to the year end of the county, and then ultimately how everything would be delivered by the state deadlines, which are the state's deadline is December 31st. I'm sure you're all aware of that, but I just state that. As a result of that meeting, we left sort of with an action item list of several items that we like to ask our new clients, and I should mention that we are new to Fairfield County. This is our first year performing Fairfield County's audit. But there are some things that we ask our new clients to help us with to gain an understanding, what we call gain an understanding of the entity itself, how processes work, controls, and things like that. So we've provided and supplied those basically templates to fill out to sort of drive our efforts when we showed up for field work. We initially scheduled our audit field work, which again is the significant effort in the audit process, for the late September, I think. I ended up calling the finance staff and asking if we could move field work up a week or two. And I don't remember the exact dates. If you really held me to it, I could probably go find it somewhere. But basically, I asked finance staff if we could move up a couple of weeks to facilitate some of our scheduling difficulties in our office. The county finance staff agreed and noted that there were going to be some items that were not completed at that time. And we have a number of clients that when we show up for audit field work, there are certain elements of the audit that are not complete, not 100% ready to be audited. And generally, as long as we have an understanding of what those are, we do not focus our time on those. We focus on the things that are finished and then pick up the things that are not done at a later date, whether that's a week later or 2 weeks later or however long it takes our client to finish that information. So we initially started our field work in September. Like I said, I guess the most fundamental element that we receive as a part of the audit process is what's called a trial balance. And that's just a listing of all the accounts of the county for all the funds and their balances. And that's what we audit. We audit the trial balance. It gives us the details of what your cash are, what your receivables are, so forth and so on, revenues, expenses. That trial balance that we received when we initially started field work at our sort of rescheduled September date changed about a week later. We got another new trial balance that we had to re-import into our system and begin starting the audit process afresh. Again, that's not a huge deal. We lost a week at this point. We worked through that for another 2 weeks from that period of time and left the field, again, that being here, stopped field work at that point to return to our offices and give the county time to finish those items that were not ready for us to audit at that time. We came back in, I believe, late November, only to find out that the trial balance, the second trial balance that was provided to us, needed to be changed again. And the result of those changes was about $12 million of adjustments, up and down, various different things. So different types of accounts, not just concentrated in one area. Those adjustments were provided to us in December, early December, and our workload is not conducive to stopping everything that we have going on and trying to pick up and re-auditing something in December. Just being full disclosure, being completely honest. And we have since that time, adjusted all of the numbers for this $12 million in adjustments, and our group was back on site today working on the audit again. So this is our third shot at field work this year for the 2022 audit. This is the third try to get it right. And I think it was a very positive day today. I visited with our staff. I got here a little bit early and they said things were going very well today and off to a good start. So that's, I think, a decent timeline to just give y'all an idea. I will say, just from our perspective, the county's audit should require about 400 of our hours. That'd be both on-site and off-site. We've got 460 hours in it now. So it's certainly not a function of us not trying or not putting the effort in to do that. And I ran that report this morning, so that doesn't include the 20 hours that got logged in today with 2 other staff people here. So again, we are certainly working on it. I understand the state's requirement to have it done by December 31st. Fairfield County is not alone. I will say that. You can certainly look on the state treasurer's website and see all of the counties who continue to be delinquent. At this moment, I think last time I looked, there are about 10 counties in the state out of 46 who have not submitted an audit. Again, just provide that to you for flavor. And I think what you'll find as you look at that list, even today, that rural counties are those who predominantly make it up. And there are some significant challenges for rural counties, and I have tried personally to advocate with the Comptroller General's office about allowing extensions. You may or may not be aware, but over the past maybe 2 or 3 years, the state has really gotten stringent in the way that they enforce their December 31st deadline with the withholding of monies now that they historically were not doing. And I have tried to advocate for a number of our county clients who may have one finance person running a county, running basically a $10, $15 million enterprise with just one person. And I haven't gotten any relief from the state to this point in hearing me on that, but still certainly advocating. And I think you should also know that governmental accounting is not getting less complex. There are new accounting standards that are required to be adopted each year. This year there's a new standard called GASB 87 that has significantly changed the way leases are accounted for. In fact, the county is using a software, paying a software company to try to account for all of that. So I just mentioned those things, again, for some additional flavor relative to maybe a big picture of what all is our challenges facing, not only this county, but rural counties in the state.
Councilman Roof.
Yeah, when do you anticipate completion of the audit?
We're certainly going to do everything we can to have it done by the end of this month.
End of the month, okay.
Now, again, I realize I'm here in front of you committing to that. We're going to do everything we can.
Okay. More, this may be for council, you or somebody. Why did we change companies to prepare the audit? Was that a bid, something that was bid out? Is this?
Yes, it was a bid process.
Okay. And now, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
And that was done when?
2 years ago.
2 years.
2 years. But this is
Yeah,
The first year.
First year.
State statute requires, and not everybody sticks to this, but state statute basically requires that you bid out your audit a year before you need it. So that's why there's a difference. The prior firm did your 2021 audit, but we proposed in 2020. If that makes sense.
The $12 million that came in late, where did that come from? Why did it change $12 million?
Well, I mean, I think it's really going to boil down to just the reconciliation process, what we call the financial close. So most, well, any enterprise really, but specifically governments, we have what's called period 13. You think about 12 months in a year, you have the 13th period is the period that you go back and make all these accruals, certainly reconcile your cash balances, which should be done monthly, things of that nature. And period 13 usually has a lot of activity in it. There's a lot of, again, accrual adjustments that are made at that moment. And that's not specific to a month, but really just a process of closing out the books, recording things on a GAAP basis, which is generally accepted in accounting principles. The only thing that I can say is that in some way, those adjustments were not picked up in the initial part of the close process, the financial close process on the county side. So we were provided a trial balance. The county, this was not our finding. We didn't say, hey, this is wrong by $12 million. The county itself, the finance management, determined that there were additional adjustments that needed to be made, and that was determined in December.
Additional expenditures?
I think it was a wide range of items, revenues, expenditures, assets, and liabilities. It was not focused in just one specific element.
So at the end of the year, we spent $12 million that we hadn't spent. Is that kind of what you're saying?
No, ma'am, I don't think so. Basically, the county records its transactions on what I'll call a cash basis, so money in, money out, revenues and receipts. Money in is revenue, money out are expenses. Certainly easy to understand from that perspective. The year-end close process changes from a cash basis to basically an accrual basis. So you're recording receivables, payables, all those things. Your capital asset activity, things of that nature. So I would not characterize it as the county spent $12 million in the interim that was not previously picked up. There were issues with the reconciliation and recording process throughout the year, and probably in the financial close process that did not pick up those transactions, and it was determined that they had to be adjusted.
How could it have been that much from September to December? I'm missing it.
These items were not spent or received or had really pertained at all to the period of September to December. Your fiscal year is July to June.
Right.
So these are transactions that should have been picked up in that period that were determined sometime between September and December. So not the actual activity didn't happen in September to December. They were just identified in that period as needing to be recorded back to your fiscal year 22.
So this would have started in July then, the 1st of July of this year.
July 21.
Yeah, of this year.
Through June 22 is the period under audit.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
What do you mean by identified? During that time period, I mean, what are you saying?
Well, I think the only thing, like I said, in the financial close process, you will have your cash basis books. So you're certainly reconciling your cash balances every month. You're recording revenues as receipts. You're recording the expenses as disbursements, all these things of that nature. In your close process, you're going to record receivables for things that for revenue items that were not received until after year end, but were earned during the fiscal year. You're going to record payables for things, expenses that were incurred during your fiscal year but weren't paid until after. So a lot of that process in the close is to pick up those accruals, and it's a waiting game. In a lot of cases, you're waiting to see what invoices come in. You're waiting to see what receipts come in, and to some extent, it should be known from year to year. I mean, you think about where county, especially where county governments receive the majority of their revenues, property taxes, that's a easy
No disrespect to cut you off, but I understand that part.
Okay.
What I'm trying to get at is why we're here now. That's what I don't understand, you know.
I can only tell you that I was given, or our staff were given $12 million in adjustments in December in our third trial balance. So we've been trying to audit a moving target since September. That's why we're here.
I guess this is a question for, I guess, our administration now. How will this affect our budget schedule?
Well, it really is going to affect it. Trying to prepare a budget without an audit report is somewhat taxing. And like Mr. Davis said, we don't have the audit report. I don't have any additional adjustments that the auditors may make. And so therefore, I really don't know what our true fund balance is in any of the accounts until the audit is done. We verify that our books match what they've audited, et cetera. And if there's some discrepancies, we talk with the auditors about that. But also, I found some additional discrepancies that unfortunately, Mr. Davis, I'm going to have to give you those adjustments as well when I'm done with them. For example, let's see, the sewer plant settlement of $45.7 million has not been recorded in our general ledger. The bank interest, the interest and the fees associated with that monies has not been recorded in the general ledger. So I've already started basically preparing some journal entries for each month. So the interest and fees can't be lumped together and recorded as one. We go back to each month to record it. Also, a $7.5 million disbursement for bond refinancing that was in the Dominion settlement. The money was recorded as received, but it was wired back out to Regis Bank, and that has not been posted. Also, accommodations and hospitality tax monies that were received are required to be put in a separate bank account, and those monies have been sitting in the general fund. So if I were to run a report on the general fund, that monies would be in the fund balance of the general fund, not separated out in an account. So since then, the monies, the bank accounts, the two separate bank accounts have been opened, but still, me along with finance need to prepare some journal entries for that to move those monies out of the general fund account. So these are some things that some we ran across 2 weeks ago, some we ran across last week, but the reason that the journal entries have not been sent to the auditor yet is because we found that we didn't have the additional documentation that was on file, especially with interest and fees, in order to record them. We finally got the last few statements today, and those will be prepared tomorrow, and then we will transmit that to the auditors. So our goal is, with just the items that we've discussed here, is to do our best to get the auditors these remaining entries at least by no later than Wednesday morning. That's our target date for that.
I got a couple of questions. You stated a few minutes ago the end of March. Well, hearing what you just heard from the administrator, I would say that definitely probably pushes it back past the end of March.
We'll see. I mean, completely being honest with you, I'm not trying to be overly optimistic. It just depends on the propriety of the adjustments. I mean, if they're, for example, the settlement money I think is in an escrow account, that would ultimately not be very difficult to audit, would not be very difficult to record. It's just getting it and then having the support for it. So there are a lot of factors. It may well push it back. I certainly don't want to commit something to you and have to come back here before you and explain to you again why it's not done. But there is every possibility that it could be done by the end of March, or there's every possibility it may not. It just really depends on what we have the people assigned now to work on it. And as I'm sure you can imagine, we don't sit around as if we're on call to immediately jump over and drop everything else we're doing to jump on something. So we're going to put everything we've got into it now to try our best to get as far forward as we can. And then if there are additional items that come to light, we'll have to regroup and do that again. So again, it is, believe me, I want this done just as fast as you do.
Right. And I appreciate y'all working with the county to get this done. You also stated that the trial balance, I think, changed 3 different times.
Yes.
Is that something common you see or not common?
Not common. And just for flavor, if you read your audit report, the opinion on your financial statements, the opinion in every one will say that, in our opinion, the opinion of your auditors, the financial statements are free of material misstatement. The trial balance builds the financial statements. So it is our expectation that the trial balance be free of material misstatement when we receive it, except for situations like what I mentioned earlier when we asked to move field work up to an earlier date. There were some things that we knew were not done, that we had communicated about. We weren't caught off guard by any of that. But to begin testing under the assumption that everything, that the things that were communicated were right, only to find out that they were not, is what I call auditing a moving target. And that's, in that manner, you're going to have internal control deficiencies. You're going to have recommendations for improvement, things of that nature, because ultimately those are the things that are supposed to be right when we get them. It is not our job to adjust things to what they should be. We're supposed to audit things to make sure they're already right, basically. And certainly if they're not, then we make adjustments or propose adjustments to correct them. But we always operate in the assumption that everything is right. And if it's not, then we make adjustments from that point.
Thank you. Any other council? I'm sorry, Tim, microphone.
Can you hear me?
Yes, it is. Normally procurement was sent out an email to everybody, say we're cutting it off, maybe like April. For the little miscellaneous items that you probably should have purchased earlier. But if there's a major item that needs to be purchased, then that will go through budgeted items. And what that does is really help with all of the invoices and everything coming in after June. So we won't have just a lot more payables coming through. And it tends to help when we do that. So really, you know, July to June, and we close out, and pretty much like Mr. Davis said, the 13th month, which is July. Anything that comes in July, like a check that we have been waiting on, didn't come in until July. That's a receivable. We have to do an adjustment. Invoice that comes in for construction, we examine the invoice, and it's period to June 30th. That's a payable. So we have to make that adjustment. That's the whole purpose of that 13th month, is really going through, making adjustments for invoices that have come through. And then when the auditors are ready, then we give them the trial balance. So it's not uncommon that when we give the auditors a trial balance, that we may have missed, you know, just a few things, nothing that material that wouldn't cause the auditors basically to have to go back and re-audit several different funds or accounts. So that is common sometimes to have that happen, but it should not be a lot of transactions that come through after we've given the trial balance to the auditors.
Mr. Chair, so we're, in light of this, we're probably going to have to change our budget work sessions. The first one's scheduled for March 29th, so we'll just have to wait and see and postpone.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, in regards to the budget, I mean, if county still wants to, we can take it piecemeal by piecemeal, just looking at the departments and their operational requests, but certainly not at this juncture looking at the capital, because over $5 million in capital has been requested. So, and, I still have to go through and determine, the ones that I'm going to recommend to council. So I wouldn't even think about going through any capital right now, but if council wants to, we can just take it bit by bit and just look at the operational expenditures. But really, I mean, it's pretty much up to council. It won't technically be a full budget that I would be giving you with all the revenue projections and expenditures, including the capital recommendations. So it could be more confusing to you by doing it that way, rather than having the whole book and taking it as a whole, rather than piecemeal.
Is there a normal percentage that the trial balance wouldn't balance? I mean, it's going to balance, the whole thing's going to balance?
It should. Yes, ma'am, it should.
It should.
I mean, there are certain instances. I mean, I've got a couple of clients that are late on their financial reporting, that their trial balance doesn't balance, and we have to help them adjust that. But it should balance. And I mean, I will say, just about your budget process. I mean, ultimately, if you shouldn't have to wait for the audit to know what your fund balance is. And that may seem strange, but most of especially the larger counties in the state, those that have a good finance operation that reports regularly to council, they know what their fund balance is every month and are able to make decisions on that. And I mean, I'm always a little bit surprised when we have clients who are surprised at what their fund balance ended up being after the audit. And I always sort of ask, how did you not know what it was going to be? And you should. And I think that's what if I had to make an informal recommendation to you now, is that you all should know what your fund balance is, pretty close anyway, every month.
Would that be if we do a monthly or quarterly financial report?
Most governments, and we make a recommendation that you receive a financial report at least quarterly, but I would say monthly. And it could be very simple with, these were our revenues, these were our expenditures. You carry that forward. This is our fund balance. You think about your calendar. At June 30th, we knew what our fund balance was. It was, $10, which obviously making things up. And then we had revenues of $100. We had expenditures of $90. Now we've got a fund balance of $20. And you just roll, you're rolling forward just like that. So you can make decisions obviously in real time. And again, that is something that we recommend. It is not universally adopted by all of our clients. And the reason I refer to that, we audit about 650 governments in the Southeast. It's 19 counties in this state, and it is a recommendation that we have that all governments receive some type of financial report, at least quarterly.
Can we maybe start getting a monthly or quarterly rolling thing? Ms. Laura?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Maybe we'll kind of know more like where we are
Yes, ma'am.
from here forward. Thank you.
Right.
And I'll say too, Ms. Johnson, she and I visited on the phone a few times after hours. I was at my son's soccer game the other night, and we talked for a while. And, she certainly, from what I can tell, you all probably know this, but she certainly has the background and the capability, I think, to turn all this around. And, we're certainly excited to work with her and certainly continue to serve you all and get this audit completed and then move on to next year. And we will make formal recommendations for anything that we see from our industry perspective.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Next, we are down to clerk to council's report, none. Item 15, second public comment session. Dr. Roberts, anybody signed to speak?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. John Jones.
Evening. John Jones, District 4. First, I'd like to acknowledge a truly outstanding event. My granddaughter just won the regional science fair and totally beat out kids much older than her, by presenting why red cabbage is red and why the cooking process changes its color and nutritional values. Jordan Pride rocks, buddy. Any award money she gets, she applies to a college 529 fund. Super smart, analyzes problems or things she doesn't immediately understand, and has good money savvy. Always looks for the best deal. She's 8. So how is an 8-year-old able to look at many outlets of the same product and pick the best one for the price and understand where to get the best nutritional value as well? And with that, let's play a game called fiduciary responsibility. Under the Freedom of Information Act, the following amounts of checks were written by counsel and payments for legal advice. Citizens watching on YouTube, pay attention to these amounts. 2019, only half a year, checks were written in the amount of $99,857.06. 2020, full year reported total of $209,898.56. 2021, only 3 months reported, yet they cost us $51,736.68. 9 months of this year showed no checks written. 2022, only 1 check was written for $802 even. So we have coupons. 2023, already, February, a check was written for $17,800.10. Question, how is it that 9 months out of 2021 show no payments recorded? Only 1 check is shown to be written in 2022, and now here we go in 2023, another honking check is written. Are we falling into the same failed routine and not looking for better value? As our elected officials, you have a fiduciary responsibility to the citizens of this county, your employers. Fiduciary means that you're required to put the citizens' needs ahead of your own desires. And what we need is a council that explains itself and what it's doing in our names with our money. Show us an itemized bill of this alleged legal advice because we paid for it, didn't we? Yes, yes. You need to talk to us. Show us what we're paying for. That's what you said you would do. We trust you. Give us something to trust you, all right?
Jeff Schaefer.
Good evening. I'm going to tell you all a true but sad story. Some of you folks might have a nightmare from this, but let's not pretend what I'm going to say is a fairy tale. It's the truth, and the facts are the proof. This county council has become a government bureaucracy full of loopholes, excuses, explanations, red tape, and an attorney who is the defense counsel for its non-productive actions. And believe it or not, the legal representation's last single paycheck to his corporate office of do we cheat him or not was in excess of $17,800. Not to mention, we paid his firm over $380,000 for his tenure and advice on ordinances to date. I'd like to say thank you very much. And when I say we've paid, it's taxpayers like us who are paying for this disservice. So as long as I'm paying, I'm saying goodbye. Fire him. If it's a legal warning you're interested in, then listen up. We will never have anything new on this agenda because your predecessors set the agenda up for failure. So we can keep them in office to fix it, which never happened. And now that we finally figured that one out, you're not listening to the people who put you in that seat. You don't need to have a title to be a leader. A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. If you truly want to show leadership in this county, then you'll have to change the chain of command. Change the order of reporting actions so that your employees are not micromanaged or worried about their job because they have to report every little thing to 7 people. The administration office can only report to one person. Mr. Chairman, no one can work for 7 bosses and expect to be productive. 7 council people all have different venues and visions of what each should happen in their district. Next, put the consulting legal counsel position up for bid. Of course, this time, the highest bidder will not win the bid. The chairman has to be the leader or leave. Resign your position with dignity and let the public know this is not the right time or the right job for you. Leave it to the next man or woman in command. There's no shame in admitting this job is above your skill set. The shame will be to continue when everyone knows you're not doing the right thing. Thank you.
Randy Bright.
There's been a lot of issues discussed here tonight. And the theme really should be, and the questions from you guys every time, how do we fix it? How do we fix our finance department? I talked about this before. Maybe it's a software issue. Maybe it's personnel. Whatever it is, we need to fix it. We just can't say, well, let's do monthly reports. That's not that easy. We have to have a process to do it. We have to have the software to do it. We have to have the people to do it. This should be a running theme, is that you guys, from the top down, insist upon processes, procedures, and in place, and how do we fix it? One excellent example I keep bringing up, and as the result of 2 FOIs, we find out we have now $3.6 million in set aside in restricted general fund for the annual payments on this building. So it goes out 6 years. So in other words, we have, and I'm talking round figures, $600,000 that we're going to save, that we're going to spend in 6 years. But according to the reports I got, we're not making any interest on that. So that's 6 years that it's sitting in under our mattress. Maybe the reports weren't accurate. And then we have the year 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. $3.6 million, 0 interest. Why is that? Why isn't the Finance Committee looking at that? We've got a whole lot of problems with our Finance Department. The other aspect is, we talked about the $45 million. $45 million. Figure it out. If we were just making, this is about almost 2 years ago, if we were just making 2% a year on that $45 million, that's a chunk of change. That's some fire engines. That's some monuments. Just kidding, of course. We've got to get our financial house in order, just as we've got to get our total vision and plan. Get organized. Get behind managing the county from the top down. Not micromanage. Tell people what you expect. Let's figure out the problems and let's move forward. But we're throwing money away in the mattress by not going out for the best interest rate. You can take that money and put it in different banks at $250,000 a clip and be making money on it instead of it sitting idly, and which it is. And what really bothered me is when I asked the questions before about how much money we're making on our money, nobody had an answer. Nobody knew. And based on the FOIAs, nobody still knows. We've got to manage the total picture. That's where the Finance Committee should come in. Thank you.
No one else signed up to speak, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts. Next, we are down to county council time. Any council members wish to be heard? Council Lady Green.
I don't know how much of my last statement was heard. I was simply thanking Ms. Johnson for helping to get all of the auditing things on track and certainly trying to get us to move forward with our budgeting process. I would like to also mention preparing for growth. We all have heard about the Scout investment of $2 billion and maybe more in the Richland County area. We just attended a conference this past week, and the feeling certainly for many is that Fairfield County will reap many of the benefits from the auxiliary companies that will come in as a part of Scout's investment. So it means that we really have to prepare. It means that we have to start talking. We certainly have to bring in our intergovernmental partners and really sit down to take a look at how we move forward as a county. We know that wastewater is a major, and I can't overstate that, issue for all of us if we're to benefit from the investments that are coming. We know that we have to plan for growth. It's not that it just occurs. We have to make sure that our ordinances and our planning and zoning and all of those kinds of things are done so that, you know, we are able to decide where a lot of the various things might go and how we certainly make housing a priority as well. So we're talking about economic development in the broadest sense, in terms of the investments of companies and others, in terms of making sure that we can guide our growth, and in terms of making sure that when we take a look at it, that we have the housing and other kinds of things that are going to be important. We're talking about 4,000 employees, and that's a huge opportunity. We have to also make sure that our schools are on board and all of those kinds of things, and certainly public services. So I just think that we need to have time, you know, set aside so that we start our plan and that we start it very soon, Mr. Chair.
Well, just two things, Mr. Chair, real quick. I think Councilwoman Green tapped into it. I have it wrote down. I think we need to look back into our intergovernmental meetings. I think the city is supposed to host the last one. Prior to COVID, that's when everything kind of shut down. So maybe we can check on that, add to your 1,000 things to do. Also, I just want to put it in the back of council's mind, we are coming up on budget season, and I just want to put it out there again that I want to do something for the for our volunteers at the rec. I think it'll be something we need to do for them. So maybe that's 1,002 for you to look into, maybe. Just put it in the council mind. That's all, Mr. Chair.
You got it right first time, but I'll take either one. Anyway, I want to echo that. Thank Ms. Johnson and administration, Ms. Williams too, for y'all trying to catch this thing up. I know Ms. Johnson came in late, and I know she's an expert in this, and she's getting it caught up, but she's had a lot of work to do. But we appreciate what you're doing, and I know we'll get it wrapped up soon. And I want to thank Ms. Green for setting up the wastewater tour that's going to be this Monday. Several of us are going, and so that is as she said, that is major for us to bring the industry in. And who knows what would have happened, could have happened had we been ready. We could have gotten Scout possibly, and who knows, never will know. But we need to be ready, and we need to move forward and get the ball rolling on this. Thank you.
Yes, I also want to thank Ms. Johnson and everybody, but adding to what Ms. Green said, to get ready for these people that might be coming in. We got to concentrate on fire protection, EMS protection, and police protection. We can't even protect the ones that are living here. We got another influx of people coming in here. We're going to be in worse shape than what we're in now. Do we have a litter ordinance? Does Fairfield County have a litter ordinance?
I don't think we do, but I can look and see, but no, I don't think we do.
Well, these people that throwing this trash out, and she talked about the state having an ordinance to keep on throwing this trash out in all these same places, and they're going to put up a camera. Well, when you get them caught on camera, if you don't have something to fine them, I mean, make it stick.
If
You
I'm
know.
not mistaken, it's enforced by the sheriff's department, if I'm not mistaken. So.
Oh, okay. All right, well, anyway, and are we getting interest on any of our money, like Mr. Bright? Are we getting any interest on any money?
Yes, ma'am, we do get interest on some of the monies, and I don't have it with me, but in state law, it says about how the treasurer should invest the monies. So I can get that to you. It's very specific. I don't have that law with me at the time, so I'll send you that.
But like the 45 million or whatever amount?
Yes, ma'am, it
Could
is.
it be invested?
It's in an escrow account, and I can't tell you what the interest is earning, but it's a nice chunk.
It's not just sitting there?
No, ma'am. I mean, it's earning interest.
Okay. And last meeting, I'm sorry, I keep on adding all this stuff to you. This is 2010 things you have to do. And I see that we have a flag. Could we possibly, there was a gentleman that talked about having the Pledge of Allegiance, you know.
It's on the chair.
In other words, I have to schedule that? Go ahead.
Oh, well, our chair, I hope, will schedule us having the Pledge of Allegiance next time. I just want to thank all y'all doing. I know you got a lot going on with the budget and all, but thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
I would like to say three things. First one is on Tuesday, March the 21st at 11 a.m., everyone is invited to the Herman W. Young Detention Center. We will be naming the detention center after Herman W. Young, Tuesday, March the 21st at 11 a.m. The second thing is I do want to thank Ms. Johnson and her staff. I know they are working very hard on getting the audit done. Late nights, weekends. I think Ms. Johnson is up here on Saturdays and Sundays, working very hard. And I want to thank Ms. Johnson and her staff. The last thing is I agree with Ms. Green and the rest of council. We have got to get prepared and get ready for this new industry that's coming to Blythewood. I spoke with Mr. Morgan today, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks, maybe get the engineer that's responsible for the wastewater treatment plant to do a presentation of what he's found so far and the research that he's done so far, and bring other council members who have not been on council up to speed on what's going on with the wastewater treatment plant, possible locations for the wastewater treatment plant, and the information that he has gathered, and maybe for Ms. Swearingen and Mr. Roof, because they hadn't been on council and have not seen or been privy to the information that he's found so far. Maybe we can schedule the engineer to do a presentation for everyone, and in that way, everyone is aware of what's going on. Next, we are down to executive session. We do not have anything for executive session. Do I have a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? We are now adjourned.